Hello and welcome to this Fotospeed video with me, Tim Jones. Today I'm going to be looking at the Fotospeed DC Film for digital negatives and positives and how we create a digital negative on our computer ready for printing. But before we dive into any of that, as always, please don't forget to subscribe to the Fotospeed YouTube channel. Click on the subscribe button below. Also, don't forget to sign up to the Fotospeed newsletter. I'll put some links in the description below on how to do that. But basically go on to photospeed.com and sign up to the newsletter. Also, don't forget, if you're looking to get into printing or you want a bit of a recap on anything to do with printing, please don't forget to download the Fotospeed Art of Printing, a free ebook from us here at Fotospeed. And finally, for anybody in the US watching this, you can now buy Fotospeed papers directly from the USA through a Midwest Photo. I'll put their website and everything in the description below as well. So you can order directly from the US now and get your lovely Fotospeed papers a lot quicker. So that's the housekeeping out of the way. Let's talk about DC Film and what it can actually do for us and what it's there to do. I'll give you a brief overview to start with of what DC Film is, and then we will look at actually how to use it and how to print a digital negative. Very simply, how to go into Lightroom. You can do this in Photoshop as well, or Capture One, whatever software you're using. We're going to use the curves to create a digital negative. Really simple. But there's a few little tricks that I've picked up along the way that I'll show you, and what we have to do to actually kind of create a digital negative for like alternate process, like our cyanotype or argyrotype kits, because DC Film is a must for any of those kits because we need to create a larger negative for contact printing effectively. So we need to create a negative for contact printing when we're looking at these kits. Now, what DC Film is a translucent material like this here. This has actually got a negative on it, and what we can do is we can create a digital negative like this car here, and we can print it, and this is on A3, and then we can use it in alternate processes like the cyanotype and argyrotype that Fotospeed do kits on. I may have mentioned that before, but you can also use it in screen printing, and also for like an alternate process in printmaking, like photo etching or something like that. So that is what it's generally there for. Now, it is printed through an inkjet printer, and it's compatible with dye or pigment inks, and it can be used for all darkroom processes, like I've said. I mean, you can use this for just normal standard photographic printing or contact printing if you wanted to, but it's generally used for alternate process now. You can also use it for display purposes if you wanted to create, say, light boxes with the image through it, and you could shine some images through. So a little bit like this one here, you could create a light box and you could actually print on it in color as well, and you could shine a light through it and create some really nice effects and some light boxes. It is available in cut sheet and in roll as well, so you can go as big as you want basically on this, and it comes as standard in all our alternate process kits. But how do you actually use it? There's a couple of little tricks I've picked up along the way though, actually how to use it, and some little things that could throw a spanner in the works possibly when you're using it. The first thing is that sometimes on certain printers, because it's a clear film, there may be a couple of settings on your printer you may need to look out for. It's always worth turning off the width detection on your printer, or paper detection if you can, especially on the Canon printers for some reason, just because it's a clear material, and as the head goes across trying to sense it, sense the paper that's in the printer, what can happen is because it's clear, it doesn't think there's any paper in there, so it'll constantly give you a paper out message. Equally, say on an Epson printer, we'll turn this off as well. It's not so bad on the new updates or the new firmware updates that they've released, especially for the P700 and P900s. The cheaper printers actually like the 8750 or things like that, they just tend to feed it through without any problem at all, or the XP15000, something like that. Just, they go through the printers absolutely fine. It's on the more expensive printers where it's trying to do too many things and be too flash, basically, with width detections and paper size detections and things like this, where we need just to turn off some settings and things. These settings, they will be all in your device settings or printer settings when you actually go to print. If you've got any problems at all, just drop us an email. I can send you some screenshots and things like that of where these settings are actually on the screens and things. But generally, it's just something to watch out for. If you put the film in the printer and it comes up and says, oh, no paper, paper out, something like that, then just look for those width detection settings or paper settings and just see if you can disable them. If not, what you can do is put another clear piece of paper at the back as well. That's another little trick that we can do. We can also profile this as well. You can print on it and we can scan it. We do have to put a sheet of paper at the back as well to be able to actually kind of profile it for you. Let me quickly show you how to create a digital negative, and I'll grab my computer here. So I just got an image up on the screen here, and I just want to show you very quickly how simple it is actually to create a digital negative if you did want to look at this process. Now, this is all in the instructions in the alternate process kits, and I've done some other videos and things on how to use those kits, but it is quite a simple process. Now, there are a number of ways to do this. So I'm just going to show you one way using the curves to do this, and I'm going to do it in Lightroom, but you can do this in Photoshop as well, just by bringing up the curve selection or Capture One or Photolab or Affinity, whatever you're using. Basically, as long as you've got the curve selection there, you can go in and you can do this as well. Some programs even have an automatic kind of digital negative function as well, but I'm just going to show you how to do it manually and some little tips I've picked up along the way and things I've found that have worked for me when I'm creating a digital negative. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is, I've got a color image of this car up on the screen here. The first thing I want to do is I'm going to turn it to black and white. I'm very simply in Lightroom, I'm just going to click the black and white button. You could just do this in, say, Photoshop just by going up to adjustments, black and white mode, etc., and just to click that button, and it just does it for you automatically. And now we've got this nice picture here, which is the positive version. So if you were doing a process that needed a positive, like say photo etching, then we could now start to just have a quick edit on this, have a look at it, make sure everything's okay, and then we could print this off and use our process. But if we're using a process that needs a digital negative, like Argyrotype or Cyanotype, for instance, or salt printing, something like that, that needed a negative, then we need to turn this into a negative. Now in Lightroom, there's not really an option to actually just click a button and invert. In Photoshop, you do have the invert option in there. However, don't panic, because if we just scroll down to where the tone curve is in the Develop tab in Lightroom, what we can do is we can swap these 2 points around. So on the left-hand side, our point will be at the right at the bottom on the left-hand side. If we just bring this right up to the top, everything goes white. Don't panic, because we go over to the right-hand side where we're at the very top on the right-hand side, and we'll just come down and we just inverted our tone curve effectively. So now we have a negative on the screen. So depending on the process you're doing, there may be a few little tests you need to do to perhaps get the best out of the digital file you're going to be printing on here as well. And I found that sometimes it's a lot easier to do it on the screen, especially with alternate processes, and just do one base exposure than trying to mess around with different types of exposure and things like that. So a little tip I found is when we are printing these digital negatives here, I mean, this looks absolutely fine, but when we actually try and print it, sometimes a little bit of the details can get lost, and say in the midtones to kind of highlights, that kind of top area can get a little bit lost. Especially when printing through an inkjet printer, for some reason, things come out just a little bit lighter than they should do. So what I normally do is on my tone curve on the left-hand side here, when we're working in a negative, in a positive it'll be on the right-hand side. But in my negative, I'm just going to bring this down and basically darken everything down a little bit so that we get a little bit more detail coming through. So I'm just going to put it, actually, I'm going to put it right down to probably about that 190 mark, or 195, I should say. It's almost on the point of that first box there. Now, what this does is it just darkens things down. It adds a little bit of grey in there as well. So you get a little bit more mid-tone and you get a little bit more highlight detail. It's just a little tip. Depending on the technique and process you're using, you might not need even to do this. I found in my photo etchings though, it helps massively. And also my cyanotypes, it really helps to bring in that detail. So you get those beautiful, really nice blue, full of detail, full of sharp kind of pictures that we're all looking for. If everything's looking a little bit wishy-washy and you're losing a little bit of detail, just try this. Just bring that down from right at the top there where it looks like a really nice contrasty negative. Just bring it down a little bit. So adding a bit more mid-tone in there, taking away a little bit of that contrast, because alternate processes are naturally a contrasty process. So you're going to be adding contrast in there anyway, be it cyanotype, argyrotype, kind of photo etching kind of things. Screen printing is a little bit different because we're working with halftones and things, but for photo process that we're talking about today, just try that because it will just add in a little bit more detail, take away a little bit of that contrast that you're going to get back. Don't panic. You will get it back, but that will be in the process itself. So give that a try. Once we've set our tone curve, the only thing we need to do is print this. Now, really simply, I would go to the print module. We'll set up our page, say be it A4, A3, whatever kind of size we're printing on. And then I would go down and I'd probably print this borderless as well. So I might just bring these margins down all the way. Set my page up as borderless, bring all these margins down. And then what I might do is I would then probably, more than likely, I wouldn't worry about profiles or anything like that. What I would do then is I would very simply put my printer management on manage by printer and go into my printer and then use the black and white mode of the printer, be it the Pro 1000 here, or if I was say on an Epson, I'd use the advanced black and white mode of the printer and use the black and white mode to print these. Very simply, set everything on what we recommend, which is premium semi-gloss on an Epson, use the advanced black and white mode and click print. And then we'd have a lovely digital negative coming off the printer that looks like this and you can use for your alternate processes. Now, I hope that's kind of given a brief introduction into DC film and what it is, but also how you can very simply create a digital negative and my little tone curve trick just to bring in those mid-tones and highlights a little bit better for you. Again, if you've got any questions or comments, just pop them in the comments below or drop us an email at sales@photospeed.com. Now you can buy DC film on photospeed.com. For everybody in the US, you can buy it at Midwest Photo, and I'll put all the links and everything in the description below for you. So on that note, don't forget to subscribe to the Fotospeed YouTube channel. Just click the subscribe button below. Also, don't forget to download the free Art of Printing ebook that we have produced here at Fotospeed, just from photospeed.com. Again, link in the description. And also sign up to the Fotospeed newsletter on photospeed.com. And also don't forget, we release new videos here on the Fotospeed YouTube channel every week. So on that note, I will see you next week. Bye-bye.